we reached out and surveyed the students because we really thought that as a ticket that's trying to represent the students, we're not doing our jobs if we don't do that. A couple interesting things to note. 80% of students said that they thought student fees were too expensive. Also note is that 85% of them said that CUSG does not do an effective job of letting students know what they do with their student fee dollars. Now, I'm not saying that just because the students are saying that they think student fees are too expensive is an immediate reason to lower them. There's a lot of great programs that come out of student fees, but the problem is that students don't know about these programs. And that's where the issue of messaging comes in. We have so many great things to offer here at CU, but so many students don't take advantage of these opportunities, and I think that's an issue that needs to be addressed in ways that we've touched on before, whether it's an app, whether it's through emails, but we have to make sure that all students are involved, not just the ones who choose to be.
I just want to go off of that. We have some of the most amazing cost centers at any university. It is a blessing that sitting on legislative council, I was able to hear from all of these student services, student legal services, neighborhood relations, women's resource center. The majority of students don't even know that these exist. The key is messaging. If we get the word out to the students and they understand that they have these services at their beck and call already paid for, and they can use these, then that is the goal. Messaging is the goal, and I think that if we do that, then they will see that their money is going to good use.
So I think I have a unique perspective on student fees, specifically the budget process, having served on finance board 2 years already, to the most recent as the vice chair. I think I can use that experience to bring some changes into the student fees. We mentioned earlier that we want efficient allocation, not necessarily raising or lowering this, but how are we possibly going to do this? I think that there are several things we can do within our own finance board bylaws right now. Specifically, it says, if you guys aren't familiar with it, SOAR is a supplemental operating reserve. That is like a contingency fund for anything that we need to fund. It's supposed to be earmarked at exactly $1 million. We are up to nearly $2 million this year. And it says right in our bylaws that if there's an overage of this, that it gets returned directly to the discount to the student fees next year. So why we haven't done this before, I don't know. But if we read our own bylaws, there's a way to lower our student fees right away. Another thing that Tyler mentioned on earlier today was maintaining flexibility through the budget cycle. Inspire proposes that we do 3 different budget scenarios on this upcoming year. 1% cut, 0%, and 1% increase. This way we can remain flexibility and look at programs that we potentially want to fund that aren't there right now, and we can weigh it against different programs that are potentially not as successful as they could be. Especially with this new recent Chancellor's Agreement protocol. Historically, budgets have been largely dependent on the Legislative Council. However, this year, they are also completely dependent on the Finance Board recommendation. And I think we did a phenomenal job putting together that recommendation. There are only a couple things that I have issue with, but largely out of my control at that point as well, too. So we need to maintain flexibility. We need to evaluate how this budget cycle went, potentially build in some more flexibility for us to move in the future. And there are ways that we can lower student fees without decreasing service right now. Thank you.
Oh, 15 seconds, okay. Just kind of going off what Will said, I'm serving on legislative council right now as rep council speaker, and this budget cycle was different because we really didn't have any leeway either way, raising or lowering. So definitely Inspire, something that we definitely want to touch on is revamping the current Chancellor's Agreement so that it gives legislative council a little more power, a little more leeway and flexibility, like Will said.
I agree actually a lot with what Mitch was saying. So a lot of the issues we have with insurance right now is transparency. Students don't really know what they're covered with or that they can even opt out of our insurance. So there really needs to be a way that students can understand, and it's very basic so they know what they have covered and what they can and can't do with health insurance. Because oftentimes students go to Wardenburg and really don't know what they can do, what covers and what doesn't cover. And so that's really something that we need to improve on as a university and Wardenburg especially. I think it needs to be something that is taught to students when they first come in so that they understand, and also more transparent for their parents so they know what is covered as well. Also, we really do need to start looking at other options. It is incredibly expensive. We are actually, currently one of our trial executives right now, his name is Chris Bauer. He is looking into the process of self-funded insurance. So it's a process right now that is currently illegal in Colorado, but there has been processes and other colleges have used it across the country. And we're going to try to work with the legislators to figure out if this is something that would work for us as a university and if it's something that we can lobby for to to be legal, because it is something that can increase revenue for our university as well as providing good insurance for our students. So we need to be looking at other options, and I think self-funded insurance is a good option to explore, and it's one that we've already been exploring.
So basically, Mitch is a senior, and the last time he saw the Norland Quad demonstration was when he was a freshman. So undergrads are slowly weaning out actually witnessing the event. So basically, we think that not closing campus is going to do anything. I don't want someone to check my buff card every 2 feet. But supporting the prevention of it so that it doesn't bring this negative stigma to our campus is what's going to help. That being said, it's a gradual process, and it's not going to be something that's done overnight. Mitch is a senior, and it's changed since his freshman year, as it's changed since mine as well.
Yeah, just to kind of echo what Ashley was saying, we're slowly approaching that day where none of the students on campus have ever been involved in the 420 celebration or the 420 protest, whatever you want to call it. So this, at least in our eyes, if we continue with the current course of action that the administration has laid out for us, short of making it a security state, which we can all agree is negative, it's unfortunate to have your parent visit and they're paying a lot of money for you to go here. It's like, oh no, you can't come on our campus. But short of making it a security state, it is our Inspire's position that we're going to continue with the current initiatives of the administration to keep the event off campus, in the hopes that in 2 to 3 years, students will have almost completely forgotten about it, and we will not have to even place this much emphasis on it, and it won't even need to be something that we spend money on in the future.
20 is a double-edged sword. We don't really agree with how the faculty is currently handling the situation. Specifically how in past years, in the past couple years, the 2 past years that I've been at CU, how the university has treated it, and even in years past before that, they've made it a police state on this campus, which makes students feel really unsafe. And I don't agree with that at all. Puts a big bad stigma on the event as a whole. As you know, marijuana is now legal in Colorado, so I feel like administration should be educating students, just like how we're always advocating to educate students on how to be safe with alcohol. We should be educating students on how to be safe, with these new recreational drugs such as marijuana, because it is treated just like alcohol. Also, what some of our administration has worked on this year, which actually happened today, was the Cannabis Symposium, which is a great alternative to not only educate students, but to talk about these different avenues, such as hemp and different things that the marijuana industry is bringing to Colorado. We're bringing in so much revenue, and we should be focusing on that positive revenue, how it's contributing, to educational funds and different things like that. And so I think we just need to shift the conversation.
I'm going to go back to the survey that we gave out to the student body. 48% of the students said that they agree with the way CUSG is handling 420, and 51% said they did not agree. So it is a very even issue on campus. But I think what we need to think about is the way that this event, year to year, devalues our degree as CU students. When we were talking about this as a ticket, Asher, who's running for representative at large, brought up the story of he was at a job interview in New York City. And one thing, they made a jab at him about, something about 420 and smoking weed, and that is not something that we want to bring to our campus and our name in general. We do not want smoking weed or 420 to be a part of our degree, and then I think that is the direction we need to go with this.
And I agree with what you said, Chelsea, about making CU a police state. I think we've made it just as big of a deal on the other end as we did when it was actually an event here on campus. I think by making it a police state fish fertilizer and making people check your ID every 50 feet, it's still a major event on this campus. So I think new measures need to come into play. I think, more input needs to come to light, and we can find a better way to combat this issue than making it on the same scale, just in a different way.
So I think something that is very important to
recognize is that a lot of the international students, CU International, the student group, they put on their events such as International Coffee Hour. And I know United members have been attending that a lot this past year. And we really, really would like to see more students who are non-international attending events such as these to foster dialogue and to build community. Yes, they are international students, but they are still CU students. And so we really need to continue to engage them with the student body and continue to increase student activity, not just international student activity, not just undergrad student activity, but student activity as a whole. Something else that we want to continue to keep funding is the liaison to international students that CUSG, the current tri-executives fund right now. And so we really want that liaison to continue to work with the CU International community and continuing to bring on events such as the International Coffee Hour and other events as well.
It's very strange to come to a foreign country or go to a foreign country. I know, I lived in Germany all through high school. And I think one of the biggest ways that we can foster inclusion among international students when they come to CU is to have more students partake in study abroad in other countries as well. What that'll do is allow students to get a different view, because a lot of CU does come from a very similar background, and this change will encourage students to be more accepting of others.
The presence of international students in our campus will only add value to our degree and our university as a whole. I think that their presence here only broadens our idea of the campus climate here and will only benefit us in the long run.
I'm Canadian, so I'm actually an international student here on campus, and I face minimal cultural barriers compared to other international students here on campus, but it's still a struggle. Between the paperwork, like I literally came from Canada, like US is hot, come on. And I even found that a struggle trying to get out of the country, trying to just go home to see my parents over vacation. And so I can't even imagine what the struggle would be if there was even more cultural barriers. That being said, I think a mentor program within that would be a great option for the school. That way that people, even I could like help mentor someone. That way it could just be an easier transition, and right off the bat, they know more about our school and they feel comfortable here on campus.
And once they're on campus, this is when we can do specific targeted outreach to find places on campus where they can call home, where they can make themselves in a community and really get a lot of their education, whether it's plugging them into specific student groups, getting them to cultural events, getting them to source where they have these opportunities to succeed and to get the most out of their education.